All right, good afternoon. My name is Kim Matina. I am the host of the Sweet Talk. Today is Tuesday, right? Tuesday, May 29th, 2018. I got a little mixed up there with the holiday we had off on for Memorial Day yesterday. I am a Google certified trainer and a top contributor in the Google for Education Help Forum. Today, I am so happy to have on the show Nic Finelli. He's got a lot of impressive experience and certifications, but he is the founder and chief learning engineer for Blended Tech Learning. So I'm going to let Nic go over and introduce himself to you, and then he's going to go over Google My Maps, which is an app in Google Drive. So take it away, Nic.
Okay, thanks for the introduction. Yes, so a little bit of brief information about me besides that. I'm a former educator. I taught in elementary school. I was a national board certified teacher and taught in Columbia, South Carolina, second grade and fifth grade. And then I turned into a technology coach, which a lot of us in the ed tech world has had some piece of our work there. And then the past 7 years, I actually moved to Charlotte, North Carolina, and started my own consulting, helping, and now I work for lots of different groups and help people integrate technology. I am a Google certified trainer. I was actually part of the first group. So when the Google certified trainers came out, we were the first group. So anyway, and I was back a Google certified innovator back in 2009 in the DC cohort. So that's kind of my Google experience. I've been using Google for quite some time, not only in my classroom, but of course helping thousands of districts and schools throughout the country. So today, do you want me to go right into maps?
Sounds good.
Okay, so today we're going to look at my maps. And so I'm going to share my screen and I'll talk a little bit how to get there and then also what you can do with it and kind of the magic that it brings out, because I feel like geography is one of those things that kids don't necessarily understand, having some sort of place, and also adults, and just having an understanding of where things are and why they occur tells a lot of questions. That brings a lot of questions, but brings a lot of answers too. So let me go share my screen. And here we go. You should see a map up there, and I am in Google My Maps. The quickest way to get there is to either go through Drive. So if I were to go to my Drive, I could pull it up by going to New, and then going down even further, going to More. Come on, there we go. And then after we get to More, then you're going to see Google My Maps. So that will bring us the same screen that we bring up here. Basically, it's to create a new map. I have a bunch of maps that I own, and the reason I brought this up first is I want to show you some of the things that you can do in it. So this is one that actually I just pulled off because the World Cup is being played in Russia in about 15 or 16 days. And so somebody actually has this on the World Cup site. But what they did is they made a Google map and they mapped where all the stadiums were. And so and that's, yeah. So there's the stadiums, and it just lists it and it explains some details about it just straight from Google Maps. And then here are some of the things, and I'll go over this when we make one, that you can do to create specific things within the map. You can change the color of the icon. You can edit this material here, which is this text boxes. You can add video or images. The video comes from YouTube, and the images can come from my Drive or photos or things like that. You can even do directions, and then you can trash things. So
now, Nic, before you go on,
yeah,
is there a library available for you to access these maps and points of interest?
Yeah, so there is a library there. The library isn't updated as much as we would hope. So when you're on My Maps, I usually just go to Explore, and I get to see some of the things that people put, although it seems to be pretty stagnant. There hasn't been much change over the past year and a half. So really, I think it's just a matter of searching if you're looking specifically for specific maps of certain things. But part of what I want to talk to you about today is you don't have to wait for someone else to make a map for you. If you're interested in, for instance, the World Cup, then you could easily find out the locations and make your own map. So I'm back at my maps, and I have things that are owned by me. So those are the ones owned by me. The ones not owned by me, but maybe I've looked at or somebody has shared with me. So here's another one similar that that I showed you with the World Cup, but now here's the difference. So their markers, their place marks aren't the same, but watch when I click on one. There's pictures, there's more information, and then there's even more photos. So what it does is it allows that map to be a little more interactive. If they had videos, they could do a 360 tour of the stadium or whatever. So the neat thing about this is, this can be shared. So just like anything else in Google, you have a sharing rights, and you can give somebody viewing rights, or you can give somebody editing rights. Head on back. So that's just in those as far as not owned or shared. The ones that I do have, there's lots of things that you can bring in there. You could bring in something like weather. So here's another example. What I did is I took some data from some tables that I found online, and I'll show you the best place to find that. But what the table did was it showed me every single average snowfall in each state. So I could see by average where they are. And then also I imported actually another layer, which was record snowfalls. So you can actually see what the record snowfall was, for instance, in Idaho. And it shows you exactly where it is, the location, and the date that it happened. And so all of that, I didn't have to plot every point on here. All I did is import a spreadsheet or some sort of data, and it came right in. And so that's the neat thing I like about it, is you can take data and then layer data on top of it. So you can compare two things that might not exist, but then now comparing them, you might say, oh, well, California is having the droughts. Well, let's look at the droughts and look at some other factors. Let's look at crop production or something like that and see what the actual effects are. And you would be able to narrow that down and look at it visually rather than just looking at a bunch of numbers. And that's why I love maps.
Yeah, and what's nice too is that with maps, like you said, you can create the layers, and you can toggle them on and off. Plus, you can organize them the way you want to. So like you said, one was average snowfall, one was average temperature. You can have different layers just for that data, and then toggle them on and off, which is nice.
Yes, like similar to a calendar. Like you don't want to see somebody's calendar, you just toggle it on and off. Yeah, that is a great aspect of it. Let me go back one more. I want to show you one other one because it's just a simple one with roller coasters that I made. So I just took 5 roller coaster sites, and I was looking for like the highest ones. And so this map is just 5 different places. When you click on it, there's a picture of it. So I told you. And then here's the video. So you could actually watch the video, and it's a point of view type video. So you can actually experience the ride. And now that more places are doing 360 videos, you could probably use this on your phone, and then it would open up and you would be able to see it using your virtual reality goggles or something like that, which is nice because it's just going to play it big because it's a YouTube video. So some other things just inside maps, just to share with you. So you can see I did my own icons. These are custom icons. They don't have to be just the normal place marks that look like a thumbtack type thing. You can control, besides the layers, you can control the style. So whether it's a sequence, so it can be maybe you're going from point A to point B to point C, or they can all have their own individual styles. And then you can decide what the label is. So all of these listed under here are what the actual spreadsheet shows for the information. So that's why I'm going to bring up Google Drive, and I'm going to show you the actual spreadsheet used for this. So let me go to recent, because I was double checking it yesterday to make sure it's good. All right. There we go, roller coasters. And notice it came from Wikipedia. That's where the information came from. But here it is. So here's the spreadsheet, and it has some names. And notice it has a lot more than 5 because I've added some more. So one thing is when you import, it dumps it. So you can't import and then expect it to keep updating on its own because the import is just a one-time what it looks like at that time. But here's the spreadsheet, and you can see it has the name, the manufacturer, all those headings that you saw there. Unfortunately, Google right now does not bring in photos. So if you had your class working on some sort of project where kids were finding out certain things and plugging it into a spreadsheet, which I would suggest that would be a nice way of collaboratively working on something together where people find out certain information and they plug it into a spreadsheet. You can also plug in photos, which might be nice for you to be able to look at because it kind of is in a table. But on the map, you would have to add your own. So I'd have to go back to that map and add my own for that one. And simply to add it, you just click on the camera and it brings up your normal image insert. And so you have all these choices. You can upload anything from your computer. So that means if you did some sort of lesson, I had a student once want to use maps to show all the different, because we were studying like different mathematicians. And they're like, well, why don't we just do a map of where these mathematicians came from? And then we'll put like their theories, or maybe have us do like a screenshot or like a screen sharing of how you would solve a problem that they figured out. And so that was inserted, maybe use explain everything or something like that, that could have video where you could write on it. So you could instantly upload your own files that would be images or videos through there. You can do the webcam, you can do image URLs, your own photos, Google Drive. What's nice about Google Drive, of course, you can find any of your images. When you click on your photos, that's what it's going to do is most images, if you take on a phone, are geotagged. So what happens is if you keep Google Photos or something like that, then you can upload, especially perfect for like field trips or something like that, or just throughout the year, and just upload your pictures. And then it'll show all the places that you went, or maybe you're going somewhere in the summer. The last part is the more. That's where you're going to get the Google image search and the YouTube search. If you already know the YouTube URL, you can just plug it in there. But it's just simple search. So I could do like Carowinds Fury. And then it's just going to bring up your videos and just choose. And it just adds it to the list. So now there's 3 things in here. And so you can continue to add them. And then you can add and delete right here. So once you save, that's it. And then it has all the other information below it. Another good thing is you can also just put web pages on there. So if you have a link to something else, just put it in there. Maybe you made a Prezi. Maybe you did something else in Drive that involves a Google Doc or a slideshow. Just put that as an additional link. Most of the time, just when you click on Add Marker, this is what shows up. Since I've already plugged in all of these from my spreadsheet, you can name your point and then just decide whatever goes in the boxes. Some other cool features just on the map itself, besides place marks, and then I can move the place mark around, is this drawing line. So the drawing line actually allows you to draw a shape. So if you need to highlight a certain region, we use this a lot of times for showing areas. Think about like the voting. So when we see the voting colors and they're showing like, this district voted this and they color it blue or red or something like that. That's kind of like what those are automatically doing, but you can draw your own lines or shapes. So if you want to just highlight a particular area here, like Manitoba, and now it makes that polygon, which is nice. And then you can describe whatever it is. You can change the color of that. I'm just going to hit save so you can see what it looks like. So if I didn't want it to be gray, I wanted it to be yellow. I click on the yellow and now it's highlighted in yellow. So it's just a neat way to mark things. And then that marker itself is just the polygon. It shows not only the square miles, but it shows the linear miles. So it's nice when you do any type of polygon area, you can do that. So you can see some of the measurements. Or speaking of measurements, there's a little ruler up there. And so you can measure distances. So you just click on one point and then click on another, and it shows the distance. And so, of course, if you're closer in, it's gonna do it even more finer rather than doing in the miles. So if I was really close on a map and then did my distance there. So that's kind of nice. And speaking of maps, you're looking at that map and you're probably like, okay, that doesn't really show me much. Is there really, not that much right there in Manitoba? Well, another way to change that is, let me click off of the ruler, is you go down to base map, and there's these 9 base maps you can choose from. The first one is probably the most traditional one you would see when you're inside Google. You also have a satellite map. So let me, I'm still on ruler. I go to my hand. There we go. So as we zoom out, it's going to be a little bit better, so you'll start to see there. So that kind of shows what that base map would look like behind it. There's a terrain map. So again, just some different looks. And as you dive deeper into it, you can get more details. So, and you can change it to any one of these. So it's just showing you just different parts, and it has labels here. So like monochrome city, light political map. So it kind of blocks out some of the other stuff. So all of that can be changed by the user, and then you can add additional layers. Click on your share button if you want others to see it, and it's the same sort of sharing rights you're probably used to. Public on the web, anyone with a link, anybody in your domain, or specific people. Now, you can also do directions. I think directions is actually easier in just regular maps because it's going to give you more choices as far as directions. It's going to give you walking. It's going to give you transit. It's going to give you car. But this still will give you directions. You'd have to change it here when you click on directions, and then just pick point A and point B, but you can't really add additional ones. But it does do a different layer. So those are some of the things. Now, this roller coaster data, where did it come from? My go-to place is actually research.google.com, and then I do /tables. And so by going to research.google.com/tables, what it does is it just looks up tables that are on the web. So it makes it more of an advanced search. And so now if I type in something like roller coasters, then I'm going to get only data that I may want to use. So here's the information that I got. Here's some more Wikipedia stuff. So anything that anybody has published out there. So like here, top 100 roller coasters by Coaster Buzz. And then you can see, well, they gave it a rating, how many people rated it, where it was last week, but it's got 101 rows. So that means if I were to export this data, I could do it straight to a Google Sheet or to a Fusion table. So then when I put it in the sheet, it will open it up in Drive. I'll save it there. Actually, I could have stayed there, just open the spreadsheet. And there's my listing, right? So the easiest part now is to know the name of this. I don't have to really do anything to this. As long as there's a place, and so that it can recognize, and usually there's going to be some sort of place marker. Otherwise, you need like a city name or a zip code or longitude or latitude. But if you go back to my maps, and here's my roller coaster one, and let's say I want to add a new layer, and now I'm going to import that spreadsheet. And notice that you can do other things like KML files. So you can search for Google Earth files that are out there that people have made and download that stuff, and it'll populate your map. That's how I got actually the earthquake one that I'll show you. But if I go to Google Drive and go to recent, there is going to be my top 100 roller coasters, just like I showed you earlier. And now it's going to fetch it. So it fetches the information and says, what do you want to use as your landmarks? And I'll say the roller coaster because that's where I know that information is. And then what do I want to do? Maybe I'll have my markers also say the rank. There we go. And now it's going to reconfigure and zoom out. There we are, instantly populated. And there's the roller coaster right there. And it shows last week, score, all the same stuff that was on the data, and it plotted it for me. And that's when you can go in and say, well, let's look at this roller coaster and let's add Mr. Freeze an image or something like that. When it does, go ahead.
No, I was going to say real quick, how do you change the place marks to have the ranking in there? Like,
so
before you showed
shows
A, B, C, D?
Oh, okay, yes. So right now it's under uniform style. And then here it shows the color. So this is where you change those items. But as far as the actual listing of the item, you go here. So it says no labels, so you just change it. So now if I do rank, it's going to show them. And if I want to change the icon itself, I can do more icons and do something like amusement park or something like that. There we go. Or you can add your own. And there. So now you can see some of the ranking ones. So depending on where you live. So where I live right now, apparently the #1 ranked roller coaster.
That's
well,
really
that's number one. That's 46.
Number 46. That's really cool. I like that you went over how to import data and how to export it and where to go with that, because that's very useful and it's a time saver.
Yeah, and we're a data-driven society. I mean, I have people all the time saying, I'm not going to do that unless the data shows me or proves to me that that's the most effective way. And so if we start teaching kids that data is actual, I know people can manipulate numbers and things like that, but presenting the data is always going to show some sort of bias, but the data itself is factual, and especially if it comes from reputable places. So you might want to source this this roller coaster rating thing. I might want to pull in somebody else's data and see how they compare, and then decide for myself how that ranking would. And I think that's how we create thinkers in our classroom, is to encourage them to do this and use the tools that are already there. They don't have to create a whole list.
Yeah, definitely. I agree. And you know what, even to go back a step, even if you want them to do the research, they can work collaboratively on a Google Sheet.
Right.
Work together on a sheet. Okay, I'll do the roller coasters, the other person will do the Ferris wheel. And you can actually import the data from the sheet into the map into 2 different layers.
Right.
So they're both collaboratively working in Google Sheets, and then they can just import the data right in there. They don't have to do it twice.
Right. And if you're working with kids that are, not able to write over each other's stuff on a sheet, just create a Google form and tell them they have to fill out the form, kind of scaffold it for them. This is the things you have to come up with. They may have a piece of paper or something, and then once they write it all in, insert it in the form, and then it goes on the map, because then all you have to do is import.
Yeah, that's a nice activity. I like that, because I know a lot of students don't get the exposure to spreadsheets like they do. Yeah. So this would give them the exposure to it, and then importing it into Google Maps is just, it's out of their realm.
Right.
It's out of it's out of the box for them. So they'll be learning more of the sheets and the maps app at the same time.
Right.
So I like that workflow, Nick.
And I think
it's awesome.
Thanks. And I think just the idea of having something real, as long as we can get kids to do real things rather than pretend stuff, then, I think it matters. And then they'll be more interested in it. And, why are kids not interested in a spreadsheet? Because most of the time the data that they're pulling means nothing. It's like, oh, we took a test on, how many times this dropped from the air, or, coin flip. And I know coin flips, showing probability and stuff like that, but to get more real details and things like that out there, I think that would be better to always think of what is it the kids are interested in and what's authentic.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, as a tech coach, I've used maps with my sixth grade students where they had to show the ocean currents.
Right.
So they used maps to actually plot the data. They didn't use the spreadsheet. They actually created the place mark in the map, uploaded the image, wrote a brief description about it, changed the icon,
Right.
and they were able to manipulate their own map. And it was nice because they were engaged just using my maps. Now, if I did that through Google Sheets and have them import it, it would have been more exposure to them.
Right. And then then they get to play. I mean, I always want them to play with things anyway. I think that's a lot of times how we learn is we get to play stuff. Adults never play with things. Most of the PD that I end up doing, I tell them, this is your time to play because you don't have other time to play. And so this is for you to figure stuff out and just try things. And, I think that makes people feel comfortable because that's what they need. They need that time that the kids, they don't want to be all nervous that the kids are knowing how to do this. Well, the only reason the kids know how is because they have time to play with.
Yes, that's definitely true. Now, let me ask you this. Now, with your Google My Maps, when you create a map, the map lives in Google Drive.
Yes.
Which is nice because then at that point, like I'm a Google Classroom freak.
Right.
I put everything in Google Classroom.
Right.
So I can create an assignment and I can attach the map to the assignment and the students can view it. They can make it makes a copy for them also, right?
If they want to do their own map, yeah, it'll make a copy. Like if you have a template type one, or you could just put the link. Maybe it's the same map and you want everybody to use that. I've even had kids just say, okay, instead of us turning in our PowerPoints or slides or whatever, you could turn them in through Google Classroom, but let's say we wanted everybody to be able to see them. Well, usually you have to make some sort of shared folder so that way everybody can do it. So the idea behind this is let's make a map, and on the map, wherever you're, maybe you're reading a book, well, where does the book take place? That's where you're going to put your presentation. So you just put the name of the book, and maybe you put a cover of the book title so people see that, and then they click on it and they see your presentation. So that way it's almost like a museum effect. They just go to the map when it's time to look at everybody's stuff. And I could be looking at yours and then somebody else's, and you could be looking at, 3 other kids in the classroom and just exploring on your own and kind of seeing how it works.
I like that. That's a great idea.
Because then otherwise the teachers, it's like the front of the classroom, teacher in control type thing, whereas it makes everybody explore and find new things.
and then you can even take it a step further and have peer evaluation.
Right.
So then you can have the students fill out a form and evaluate their peers' presentation on the Google Maps. So like you can take it to the next step. And this is all differentiated instruction too.
Right.
Because you're giving them options and you're putting it all together into one area where it's one-stop shop.
Right.
Which is nice. That's nice.
Yeah. I do want to show you one last one because this is a little more detailed. It actually came from a KML file, which is a Google Earth file. And so it's this Ring of Fire one that I have here. And so what I like about this one is I didn't really have to do much. The first thing I did was brought in the live earthquake map. So you may know that the GC, I'm forgetting the acronym, but the government has a website where it tracks all the live earthquake data. And so you can see every earthquake that happened and basically it's in a spreadsheet. So you can import that spreadsheet. And so I did it at one time just to pull like a certain amount of time, and there was 97 instances. And so without showing the kids all of these things, I just show them this and I say, okay, look at where all the earthquakes happened. No big deal, right? Just, they're like, hey, a lot around here, a lot around there. And they always say, well, that's around mountains or that's around this. And then I start showing them things like, well, have you ever heard of plate boundaries? And then we start looking at plate names and some of the other things. And then when you start looking at it, you start saying, hey, wait a second. These are all occurring where there's plate boundaries. And then that kind of gets them interested in talking about, well, why do they occur here? Or why does this one occur here? Is there a plate boundary there? So it brings up a lot of questions. And again, we talked about having them be thinkers. This presents material in a way that they can see and make sense. If they just saw the data from the site, they'd be like, okay, big deal. You know, all these, they don't know where these are in relation to each other. And they don't know, you know, when they happened and maybe something triggered another one, that type of thing. But this was just pulled from Google Earth. So all the plate boundaries, these are done from Google Earth. And then actually Google Earth Pro, it's not from the new one, that's the web one. But then it's showing just the different types of things that you can put on there, just different plates. So this has actually lots of layers on there. But I just like that because it's just a way to talk about real things and have them discover stuff on their own. It doesn't have to be, you know, like we were talking about a place. It can be a scientific concept that you're teaching someone, you know, just about the world. It doesn't have to be a historical thing or, you know, this is a setting where someone lived or this happened.
You know, and I am a visual learner, so I tend to go toward anything that's visual. And for me, this lays it out. Like Maps is really a great app to get your kids exposed to because it is visual and it's relevant. Like you said, it it gives a student a place where they can look, they can find the information, and then they can go to the next place mark. You know, like they can kind of, it's geography, it's relevant, like all that data that you just displayed was all real data. It wasn't made up. So, you know, and then you can talk about current events with that too. So, I mean, it all ties in. Like, it's just not geography. It all ties into, you know, all subjects. It's just a matter of what direction you want to go. You know? Yeah. So, I mean, for me, the maps, any concept mapping, is that's how I learn. I'm a visual learner. So my maps, Google Earth would be the place that I would, as a student, I would love that if my teacher used that app. I actually created a map. When I introduced the maps to the students, I had them create a map and I had them plot out like where they went on vacation so that they can see, okay, we live here in New Jersey, and then, okay, let's see where you went. And then they were able to at least make the connection of how far away they were. And then we went into the assignment. So, you know, they can actually, it's a visual. It's just another visual tool. But I love maps. I do. I love it. The kids, when I introduce it to them, they seem to adapt to it very easily. They don't seem too overwhelmed with it.
No.
You know, because it's visual. That's my opinion.
And they can control it. It's not just a static page like, oh, that's just a map. I can't do anything with it. They can do stuff with it. They can manipulate it. I think that adds, and I think, you know, makes our world seem much smaller than much larger than somebody's just like, okay, this is all I know about is this little area right here. It expands, you know, their knowledge and understanding of, you know, other things.
Yeah, and it gives them a sense of where they are on this world, you know, like I know, you know, a lot of students, they don't get a chance to go on vacation or go away. They just know their hometown. So you can even start off by creating a map in your hometown, and then you can expand out and just do like, you know, community events in your town, and just go and do things that are on a bigger scale. But yeah, this was great, Nick. Anything else that you want to share, or is that about it?
That's about it for now. I also I know you're going out and starting to do things. So I also map where I go and do my professional learning. So I have a whole big map that basically you can't see the U.S. now anymore, except for, you know, some parts in the Midwest where
I did that too.
But I mean, it's like, it's amazing. It's like all of a sudden I was like, wow, I've really, you know, you start looking at it and you're like, wow, this is a lot of stuff.
Yeah, yeah, you're right. You kind of like, you take a second and you reflect on all the different people you made connections with. And it's just like, wow.
Yeah,
It's overwhelming.
definitely.
Yeah, but you know what I do have to Nick? I do have a paper map.
Oh,
I have it digital, and then I have a paper map because I want my nephew to actually help me put my pin marks on my paper map, so
yeah.
at least he can see, the geography part of it. I'm going to show him the digital part too, but
Oh, I
I
like
like
that
him to
too.
see
Yeah.
the paper map. Plus, it's nice to have in my office.
Yeah, I have it in my garage. We have all the places that I've been. So my kids put up the place mark where all the places I've been, and then all the places that we've been together is a different color. So then they get to see, different things, and they understand, so much older, they didn't have the chance to go to these places, and so
Yeah.
it's pretty neat. But yeah,
Yeah,
so
so you've been around.
yeah, this is the last 7 years. So,
Wow, that's impressive.
and I'll be up in your area. What part are you in?
I'm in South Jersey.
Okay. Well, I'm going to be in Manhattan tomorrow, so I'm going past you.
Okay, so Manhattan is about 2 hours from me.
Oh, okay. So you're
North.
closer to Philadelphia.
I'm right in the middle.
Oh, you're right in the middle?
Yeah, I mean Manhattan, I can probably get there in an hour and a half, but with traffic it'll be about
Yeah.
2 hours. And Philly, I can get there in an hour and a half.
Okay. So
But
yeah.
traffic, you always
Right.
gotta you always got a lot for that. But I could go either way. Yeah, but I'm
Yeah.
south of New York
Yeah.
and I'm east of Philly. I'm right on the
Okay.
Jersey Shore.
Okay. Great. Yeah, I did a couple of years ago. I know that's further north, but Monmouth Beach.
Oh my gosh, yeah, I used to work in Monmouth Beach.
Yeah. So I did some training there for them. They got some Chromebooks and Google stuff. So I did a couple of days out there.
Yeah, that's funny. Small world.
Yeah. Well,
That's up in Monmouth County. That's about an hour and 15 from my house. I used to do that commute every day.
oh gosh, yeah. I'm sure the commutes. Yeah. That's one of the things that I don't miss is the commute. So
Yeah,
I guess my commutes are big, like flying out to Manhattan and coming back.
yeah, right. That's your commute.
Right. As long as it's not every day, then it's
Yeah,
okay.
I hear you. Well, I want to thank you for being on the show today.
Sure. Thank
I
you.
think that the viewers will appreciate all of the information that you shared. What I'm going to do is I'm going to share my screen. So hold on. Yeah, I was on Twitter tweeting it out. So if you Google the Sweet Talk, my website will show up. And you can actually go over to episodes and all of the notes for today's show will be listed here, as well as the YouTube link for the show. So as soon as I get that all wrapped up, you can watch the show and access the show notes here. If you have any questions for Nick, all of his information, Twitter handle, website will be in the show notes. So you can reach out to him there. If you'd like to be a guest on my show, go over to the guest tab and then scroll down and just fill out this form and I will get back to you as soon as I can. And one more thing.
I noticed you had a awesome table showing your
Yeah, I
stuff.
got
That's a
awesome
good one.
table.
Yeah.
Yep. Which is a lifesaver.
Yeah. Especially presenting it nice and neat.
Cleans it up,
Yeah, definitely.
And if you would like to email me, you can email me at sweettalkshow@gmail.com. Subscribe to my YouTube channel here at bit.ly/the Sweet Talk channel, and my website is bit.ly/the Sweet Talk website. And that's it for today's show.
Thanks for having me. I appreciate it. That was fun.
Oh, thank you. Let me get back to you. There I am. Yeah, it was great having you on. It was nice to meet you. I'm glad that we made a connection, and keep in touch, please.
Okay. Yeah, sounds good. Thank you. Thanks, everybody.
Bye.
All right. Bye.